In the last video, I went over a few spreadsheet basics. We calculated the mass change for experiment 2.1. Then I sorted them based on their mass change. Now we're going to look into whether negative 2.54 grams lost is an outlier. And to do that, we need to look at the, we need to go through a process. So I just wrote first quartile and third quartile of the data, which are two things we need to find in the process of identifying outliers. A quartile is just that, is 1/4 of the data. So what is the 25 percentile of the data? Well, the 50 percentile of the data would be the median. So if we look at the mass reading where 50% of the mass changes are lower and 50% are higher, that might be what, in the neighborhood of negative 0.20 or so, negative 0.16 grams or so. But we don't want to find the 50% point. We want to find the 25% point and the 75% point of the data. The first quartile will be the data point where 25% of the data is lower than that number. So to find the quartile, we can simply type equals quartile, and you can see the quartile comes up as an option. You can just click that, and then we highlight all of the data we wanted to look at, and then we need to type comma 1, which indicates that we want the computer to find the first quartile. And then we just hit enter. And then for the third quartile, it's the same thing, equals quartile. There's the quartile option. We highlight all the data, and then we do a comma 3, enter. So what the computer is telling us is that 25% of our mass changes are lower than 0.21 grams mass lost, and 25% of our data points, or of our mass changes, have a mass change greater than negative 0.02 or less than negative 0.02 gram mass loss. So roughly, visually speaking, this is about 25% of our data right there. Okay, so we are still again in the process of finding our outlier to determine if this negative 2.54 is an outlier, meaning a measurement we aren't going to trust. So the reason why we found the first quartile and the third quartile is so that we could find the interquartile range. The interquartile range is simply the difference between the first and third quartiles. So that's third quartile minus the first quartile. There it is, 0.19 grams. And just for the purposes of our class, as a rough guideline, we will consider any numbers beyond 3 interquartile ranges away from the first quartile and 3 interquartile ranges away from the third quartile to be outliers. So this will start to make sense in a moment. Just bear with me. So if I wanted to find 3 times the IQR, then that's 3 times, that equals 3 times the interquartile range. That's 0.57 grams. So in the plainest English I can say is the minimum value that we will have faith in will have a mass change that is equal to the first quartile minus 3 times the interquartile range. In other words, negative 0.78 grams. And the maximum value that we will have faith in would be equal to the third quartile plus 3 times the interquartile range away. So this means that any mass change less than negative 0.78 grams, we're not going to have faith in. And any mass change greater than 0.55 grams, we will not have faith in. So we do not have any mass change that's greater than 0.55 grams. So we're not going to concern ourselves with that. But the negative 0.78 is the minimum value that we will trust, which, if we look at the data, there are 2 mass changes that lie below that minimum value of negative 0.78 grams. So therefore, we will not honor those data points. So I will turn them red, which means don't pay attention, we're not going to include them in our analysis. Note that we cannot delete them and strike them from the face of the earth. They must stay in the data table. We just won't use them for our analysis. So when we calculate the mean and the median of our data, for example, we will only do that for the data we trust. So we can type equals average. We want to find the average mass change of all the data except our 2 outliers, and we'll find the median mass change of all of our data except the outliers. Okay, so these 2 are considered outliers. All right, I hope this video has made sense. I will make another video that we'll attack this from more of a visual perspective. So if you're a little confused, stay tuned. There'll be more help on the way.